Hello. Welcome to another inspiring episode of WdY&x podcast. I'm your host, Will Lukang, and today we have a truly exceptional, gifted guest who embodied the essence of our topic. You are called. Have you ever felt a deep sense of purpose? A calling that beckons you to rise above what it takes to make a difference in this world. But more importantly, have you wondered if your character can sustain the heights your calling inspire you to reach? Our guest today is a living testament to the power of aligning one's calling and one's unwavering character. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to introduce Tam Lawrence. You may recognize her hilarious appearance on Comic View or from her tour across the country with some of the Hollywood's finest comedians. But Tam is not just a comedian, she is a visionary and a trailblazer. As the founder of Exposure Plus TV, she has created a platform that amplifies diverse voice and stories. She's also the publisher of Keynotes magazine and Exposure magazine, bring valuable insight and stories to readers everywhere. And if that wasn't enough, she founded the Keynote Speakers Hub, a haven for thought leader and influencer to share their wisdom. Welcome, Tammy.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on my show. I'm going to start with the first question. Can you share with us what initially drew you to comedy and how your journey evolved into creating such an impactful media platform?
Oh my gosh. Well, one is my family always loved to laugh. We had the most amazing and incredible childhood. And so my sister is primarily the person who drove me to comedy. She said, you gotta go. And I had wanted to do this so long in front of people. And so my first was so great that I was bit by the bug. And from that point on, I knew I needed to be on stage, somebody's stage. And I wanted to make people laugh. So I took my trauma and pain and I turned it into comedy.
Then how did you turn it to evolve it to create this impactful media platform then?
Mm. Well, coming out of college, I ended up working as a publicist. And so when I started working with the NFLPA in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was pitching stories, they wouldn't take the stories about the concussions. They wouldn't take the stories of the downfall after NFL. And I said, you know what? I'm going to start my own situation. When people won't do something, I believe that you're either on the menu or you're at the table. So I decided I wanted to be at the table. And so being able to make decisions and to be able to put out those stories without filter, without the politics, making sure that people were getting content that was with context.
Well, thank you very much for being on the table, for
Mhm.
creating those news and sharing it with people. Those are really relevant information. Let's go to the next segment. I usually dedicate my episode to someone. Today, I'm dedicating my episode to one of my mentee, who's now is I call friend. Her name is Kabita Joseph. I've known her for over 17 years. She used to
Okay.
start as my mentee. Now I call her friend. She's been a lifelong friend for me. So I want to dedicate this episode to her. How about you? Who do you want to dedicate the episode to?
I'd have to say my mom.
I think that's the best one. That's the best one. I'll jump into the next question. Exposure Plus TV has become a significant platform for diverse voices. What inspired you to create this platform, and what impact do you hope it might create?
Exposure Plus TV is in 128 countries. We have the
Oh wow.
possibilities of reaching over 400 plus million households around the country. With this type of platform, we have the ability to put out positive content that would negate the negative so that we could be a part of the change that this world needs to experience.
Wow, that's impressive. Next question ahead. You often speak about not letting your calling take you where your character will not show up.
That's so
Can you
important.
share an experience where you faced this challenge and navigated?
hmm Um, I would have to just say, just recently, when I lost my mom, I lost myself.
Sorry to hear
I
that.
couldn't figure out exactly where what do I do now? Where do I go from here? I was her caretaker for 6 years, and she passed suddenly, and that took me to a point in my life where I had to just reevaluate things and say, Tam, who am I around? Why am I around them? Who am I? Why am I? And what is the true purpose? So for me, it was things had always been about capitalism. When you run businesses, I've been in business for 30 years. And so capitalism. But this time around, I wanted to make sure that I left a legacy for our family. So I changed from capitalism to activism.
Thank you. The next question I have for you is: as the publisher of Keynote magazine and Exposure magazine, what are some of the most impactful stories or topic you've covered? And how does it resonate with your audience?
I would have to say crimes against seniors. Right now in this country, there is a serious problem with abuse and neglect. And then in the end, you also have the legal system, which is probate court and guardianship. So that led me to become a Wisconsin registered lobbyist. And so when you lobby, you find out how laws are passed and bills are passed and things of this nature. So I think that particular program, which is still live right now, it's called CareFax, and I talk about how, the system is broken. In the end, there's just so much corruption. So I think that that would probably be my biggest story thus far outside of human trafficking, and then also food deserts. So I'm really thriving off of social issues that we're not paying attention to, and that the average consumer or constituent is allowing the government to make decisions on our lives. And we're not taking part in that. And that's not good, because we don't need people in government to pass bills or to make decisions on our lives. We as constituents need to stand together and start to I would say, come together as an alliance to create a cohort of people who will fight for what's right for the people and not for politics or popularity.
Thank you for really raising awareness on all the social issues, and to mention to certain degree, I think it's important for us to advocate for ourselves. I think it's quite important, but I really appreciate what you're doing, being a catalyst to actually raise all of this topic related to social issue. The Keynote Hub speaker platform that you created. Can you tell me more about its mission and how does it support thought leader and influencer? And I'm
Mhm.
fortunate to be part of this one, by the way. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. This is a social issue as well. So my undergrad is in psychology, and my thrive in psychology was to find out how consumers think, the consumer psyche. And when you see cash and grab and misleading marketing and all of these high ticket situations happening, it's starting to water down a market in which I'm a big believer in philosophy. Like, I love Aristotle, Socrates. My whole entire catalog of books is on philosophy, understanding that people need motivators. They need leadership training. We need these things to stay, I would say, to stay sane in this chaotic world, right? And so when you start to see all of these things happening, you're going to see more people walking away from the industry. And so I felt like if we could create a collective body where paying opportunities and the initiative is to keep keynote speakers connected and create what we call a bill of sale that corporate event planners can appreciate. So when people are coming out of speaking programs that cost them 40,000, they try to pitch themselves for 10,000, 20,000 speaking gigs. You don't have enough time on stage in order to be able to get that. And so if we could create a collective body of people who control the narrative, I think that event planners will appreciate it, and we'll see more jobs start to pop up again that are paying gigs instead of all of this pay to play stuff. Mhm.
Thank you very much for creating that platform. Really looking forward for that to grow. And I'm really thankful that I'm going to be part of it too. Thank you very much. The next question I had, having toured with a Hollywood comedian and performed on Comic View, how has your background in comedy influenced your approach to media and communication?
Baby, you got to learn how to laugh. I had every deal, every no, I laughed. You have to know humor. Humor. What is doing business or even living without laughing? So for me, it's a part of me. It's the thread. It's the one thing that connects me to humanity is being able to laugh and to have fun with it. Because when it's not fun, I drop off. I do. People know me. If it's not fun and if it's too chaotic, I can't deal with it. So I think comedy for me was everything. It helped me to close deals. It helped me to stay sane when doors were closed. So I think that most people don't take, they don't take into consideration laughing.
Yeah, I think I agree. I agree with you on that one. I think in many ways, comedy kind of help uplift people's spirits, and it could
Hmm.
be the common denominator with you and your audience too when you're speaking. So I think thank you for highlighting that one. For people who actually were aspiring to be a creator and entrepreneur, what are the things you could advise them in their journey? What are things they could do?
Know that in business and in any journey that you're going to take, you're going to fail. You're going to fall, but fall on your back so you can see your way up. And what I mean by that is to always have a backup to a backup to another backup. Because if you don't have faith, that's first and foremost. I always say that my children are both entrepreneurs, and I tell them, reach for the stars. And if you fall, you grab the moon, but never give up. Because, see, the universe has to test you to see if that is what you truly want. And if you desire it with your whole heart, put forth every effort to achieve your dream.
Thank you for sharing the concept of falling on your back. In fact, I've never heard of that, but I love it, right? Falling your back so you could see your
See
way
your
up,
way up.
right? Like it's phenomenal. Now I'm going to remember that. Related to people also who wants to be aspiring actor and entrepreneur, sometimes following your calling is really hard. How do they maintain their character integrity along the way? Because that's challenging, right? Sometimes
Hmm.
people talk about compromise. So how
Hmm.
does one who's inspiring to be a creator and entrepreneur maintain their integrity and character?
Never dumb yourself down. Never dumb yourself down. Know that God made provisions for you before you came here, first and foremost.
So
So
powerful.
and no at no point in time, even when you're isolated or alone, because most people who are visionaries, who are in this wonderful space of being able to see things in future forward, right? A lot of times you will end up alone. But that time is when you get along with God. And that will help to build the character. It's him helping you to curate, and that's the wine press. I always tell people, trust the process, whatever that is. Just trust the process. Believe me, I know this for a fact. It's not. I don't speak from a space of opinion. I speak from a space of experience. Just recently, I lost 4 family members back to back. I did. It was
Sorry to
in
hear that.
less than 22 months. Less than 22 months. And at which point in time, I was so hurt and devastated. But I thought, you know what? God is so intentional. He is so intentional. He knew exactly what time they would go home. He knew exactly what I would do in the end. But we're not alone. We have the ability to continue to keep on pressing on. I tell people I got a PhD in persistent, hungry, and determined. I ain't giving up. So keep on moving. Find something that you love and never let it go.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
We've been talking about your calling. If there's three takeaway for this episode, what would those three takeaway be? that you want to share with our audience?
Take time in the mirror because the only person you're fighting is you, not fighting with anybody else. Stop. I think we don't understand metaphysics. So I'm going to say metaphysics is something I hope that people will take away from this. Understand that you were born for a purpose. You don't have to find purpose. Purpose is you. And
Mm.
that's where innately we have to understand that everything that you wanted, everything that you need to survive, innately God gave that to you before you even got here. He said in the word that I knew you in your mother's womb. Do you understand what that means? That means that God said, I knew you before you were even conceptualized, right? So he doesn't make mistakes, and we are not mistakes. And one of the biggest things I think, if people are still watching this and you're still with us after the pandemic, you have a purpose, honey. And there is something in you that you need to complete. So don't allow yourself to end up in a site. I always tell people the richest place in the world is in the graveyard. So many people
Mm.
died with their dreams in them. So don't allow that to be you. Live out loud, live on the edge, step out, leap. Literally leap, take that leap of faith and do whatever it is that your heart desires. But always remember, never let your calling take you where your character can't show up.
Wow, so impactful takeaway. My last question for you: if you speak back to your 14-year-old self, what would you say to her today?
Listen, I try to prepare myself. What you're about to go through, it is not going to hurt you in the end. I want you to pick yourself up. I want you to make sure that you always value who you are in your time. And because God has given you so many gifts, you are not an imposter. You are Tam, and you deserve it. Mhm.
Oh my God, so powerful. Thank you, Tam. Thank you for your time today. This is such an impactful episode. I really love it. I really
Thank
appreciate you. I know you're very busy. You're
you.
running so many things, but you took time to be on my episode. Truly, thank you for that from the
Mhm.
bottom of my heart.
Now, thank you for having me. I am.
You're
I'm
welcome.